No, we were going to spend a little bit of that time talking about our takeaways from the chats with the principals. That's fine. Or I just won't even hand it to you. I'll just take it. Yeah. Okay, can we please come to order? All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome everybody for being here, although I'm sure you'd all rather be intently watching the Democratic debates. So we'll keep this short so you can go and get your political fix for the night if you so choose. But no, we have a good meeting, really excited about our public recognitions with CAPS and St. Charles High and Lewis and Clark, so really looking forward to hearing the good things that you all are doing. If we can please, as we always do, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we will then proceed again, as per tradition, to Dr. Jason Seifert with the superintendent comments.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good to see you all. I have a couple of highlights that I like to share with you tonight. First of all, the district has been named the St. Louis Business Journal's 2019 Healthiest Employer for the 4th year in a row. You can clap for that. That's awesome. Dr. Brazil, would you like to add anything to that?
I think that's sufficient, except just to say that we've got a great group engaged in wellness, and it continues to grow, and I think benefits us all.
Thank you. We also have an awesome OASIS program here in our district. I'll read a little synopsis from their training this week. OASIS tutor training was held this past week in St. Charles. 24 new tutors have been added to the roster of tutors in our elementary and intermediate schools. With the addition of these tutors and nearly 80 returning tutors, we now have more than 100 tutors working with our students to improve their reading, writing, and communication skills. While working one-to-one each week with their students, these older adults become mentors and great support to the students. A number of our tutors work with more than one student each week, so approximately 160 or more of our students will benefit from having an OASIS tutor this year. And you can clap again for that as well, because that's awesome. Just a quick update and reminder that we do have a district podcast. It is called Benton Talk. We're starting with our schools now, talking to our administrators. This past month, we had St. Charles West Warriors, and this month coming up, we will have the Pirates of St. Charles High School, so we're looking forward to that. So make sure, Dr. Lewis, do you want to, because you're more techie and you like to say those like tune into or subscribe, you like to tell people where they can find that podcast?
Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast.
We also put on our Facebook and our Twitter. So, and we think it's highly entertaining, don't we?
I do.
But we also, more importantly,
I will say they entertain themselves pretty well on the.
And more importantly than it's entertaining, there is great information about your schools as we start getting all the administrators in there and having great conversations about what's happening in your schools. Make sure you tune in because that's awesome.
Yes.
I also want to talk about CAPS for a second. And you all know about our CAPS program, and I want to we just sent out an invitation to our board, so I want to invite you. We'd like to invite you to visit the St. Charles County CAPS program to our Board of Education on Thursday, November 7th. We just sent you an email about it. During either the AM or PM CAPS session times, during the CAPS Roadshow, you will be able to visit each CAPS site and hear from the CAPS instructors and what associates do in CAPS. You also hear from the CAPS associates about why they are in CAPS and hear about their collaborative real-world projects. Seeing and hearing about CAPS firsthand will give us all a better understanding of what that program is all about and how it benefits our students, and we hope to see you there. And it's November 7th, and you should have a specific email invite for our Board of Education to attend that with us, so we're excited about that. We continue to have lots of construction going on in the district. If you're in a building that has had some construction, maybe not in this room because Lewis and Clark, but how about the last 2 years? Raise your hand if you've seen construction. Yeah, that's what I thought. Construction means better enhanced schools and just great places for our students. And I want to thank Dr. Brazil and his team because It's been quite a few projects that we've been handling at once, and it's been awesome to see our schools come together and just be even better places for our kids. I also want to say one quick little conversation about test scores, our standardized test scores. Wanted to let everybody know that those scores are in the hands of our principals, and our staff are analyzing and reviewing. They are still embargoed by the state, so they're not released yet, so we will not be publicly talking about them, but we are looking forward to having a full report to our Board of Education next month in October. But we are starting to review and analyze, and then parents, if you've seen individual scores come home, for the individual scores can come home, right, Dr. Farnham? And but the general report and things have not been released yet, and we hope to get that soon and be able to do that in October. But as we continue to analyze and review where we're at academically, and also student performance is very important to us, and we hope to move forward in a positive direction with all of that. And we are doing that with our two big rocks, which are RTI and student needs. I love it. And I just want to recognize our staff because we are off to a great school year this year, and we can't do that with all the people in our buildings doing wonderful things. I know our CO team does a great job of trying to get out to buildings and see them do their awesome things every day with our great kids, and really good things are happening in our school district, and I'm very, very proud of that. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Seifert. Next up is 3.04 board communications, and while we don't have any formal communications that came in, we wanted to take just a little bit of time and discuss last month. So last month, as we always do before our August board meeting, we have a work session with the building principals, and typically it's more of kind of a report out to the board. And there was a suggestion, I know Marita was part of the suggestion, and maybe it came from a couple others, that, hey, why can't we have more of a conversation and a discussion with the principals? And I thought that was a great idea. So we were able to get into two circles here in the room, and we as board members had a chance to just ask questions of the principals and have kind of a two-way dialogue. I personally really enjoyed it. I've gotten only positive feedback from people who were a part of it. But I wanted to take just a few minutes and kind of ask the board from that experience, what are some of the takeaways that you all had from that session?
Well, we were asked to come up with questions that we'd like the principals to talk about, and so that they would obviously be prepared. And I think what it did for me, it concretized, if that is a word, it is now.
What's the word?
Concretize, yes. Make concrete. Yeah. Make concrete some of the things I think that we as a board probably need to do to help, on certain areas, without really saying what those areas are yet. But so in a way, it really helped me maybe to see what their concerns are, and made me think about how can the board help them.
And I especially liked the format that we came up with, because I wanted to be this St. Charles United family feeling. And sometimes when you have thank you very much, in the past, sometimes they sat in straight chairs and we sat here, and it was just really almost intimidating and formal. And this time it was conversational. I enjoyed it. I hope they all enjoyed it. It was a chance, really. We all sat back in chairs and we had questions, because otherwise we're just kind of rambling around like I'm doing right now. But I felt like I gained so much more, because it just wasn't one response. The one response led to a thread from some other administrator who then joined in, and I had a much broader picture of our entire district, and as Marita said, ways that we can maybe lend more support.
I agree with Donna. I mean, I liked how we had the two different circles and we moved around. I feel like we weren't as intimidating as normal, like sitting up here and everybody back there at a table, you know, just standing up and speaking for the group. And I found out a lot of things too. And like one question I had was, well, the question I had was if they could have anything they wanted and money was no issue, what would they want? And I thought some of the answers were really good. I mean, because you're looking down the road and I think, well, it was Lewis and Clark, they want a culinary school. And the one that bothered me a little was, I really do think we need to put handicap accessible over in no. But yeah, I thought it was a good session.
You know, funny thing, because I thought about that, the culinary thing, and interestingly enough, in our open session tax hearing that we had prior, 2 hours ago or an hour and a half ago, we were talking about various expenses, and we were talking about food expenses, and how can we control that? And my thought was, well, if we can get a culinary school in Lewis and Clark, there you go. They can help us out with some of that.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And the other thing that kind of struck me, I think sometimes when I sit back like this, I forget how intelligent our administrators are. You know, well, no, I know that. Well, you know, I know about you all, but no, that's not what I'm saying. Should I stop now? But what I'm saying is, you know, that we have people, you know, they have their doctorates and their masters, and they are truly the experts in education. And they spoke they spoke selflessly, which I thought was really admirable.
And I'll say, if nobody else, oh, Virgil, did you? Okay.
You're done.
I would say that one of the things that I got out of it was really how these two big rocks, response to intervention and student needs, how important it is, because those were a lot of the challenges, and there's a whole lot of discussion to come on how those are handled and how that can be done, alternative schools, more social worker, whatever that may be. But it made me confident that those two big rocks are very appropriate things for us to be moving forward with. So I thought it was a good session. All right. Well, thank you for that. We are now going to move on to 3.05 with our public recognition. Donna.
As many of you know, the open session of our board meeting is televised. The next portion of our open meeting will consist of public recognition. Through participation in the public recognition portion of our meeting, all parties give consent to the televised broadcast of information and images as well as other district-related media. If you prefer not to participate, you have that option.
So tonight we have 3 sets of recognitions, so we're very excited to get started with those. We have recognitions for Lewis and Clark Career Center, our CAPS program, which is the Center for Advanced Professional Studies, and also for St. Charles High School. So we're going to get started with Lewis and Clark, and I'd like to invite up Dr. Andrew Stewart.
So normally, we do this later on in the school year. This is early for Lewis and Clark, and happy to be here. Usually at this time, I thank you for renewing my contract. So I'm going to say, you know, best wishes to you, and I hope that you'll give me good consideration in February. Okay, so I'm going to honor 3 students, and I'm going to ask them to come up here. Let's see, Haley and Jacob and Grant. Come on up here. Let the people see you. All right. And I'll explain why I'm doing this. So one of the many criterion that Lewis and Clark is judged upon by the federal government. As you know, we get a large federal Perkins grant that goes to vocational education every year, administered through DESE. And one of the statistics that they ask us about, and they comb through all our stuff, is what percentage of your students are considered non-traditional? And we don't mean age-wise, because all our kids are 11th and 12th graders, but basically they're asking how many girls do you have in predominantly boy programs and how many boys do you have in predominantly female programs? So, and looking at the data this year, we found that we hit 5% of non-traditional students, which is a very big number. It's the biggest number we've ever had. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to recognize those students who took the risk to go into a program that's heavily, skewed to the other gender. So these are 3 that are from our St. Charles schools. So first guy is in the middle. This is Jacob Wilson, and he's in the early childhood careers class. He is in his 2nd year. He's a 2nd-year student, which means he goes out in the schools 5 days a week. In this case, he's working with a teacher at Jefferson Intermediate, Mrs. Alicia Kelly, and helping in her 5th grade classroom. So that's Jacob Wilson. Congratulations. The other young man here is a former student of mine at Jefferson back when I was there, and he last year took the building trades class and did a great job with Mr. Henke, but he really in his heart wanted to be a paramedic. So, and he wanted to stay at Lewis and Clark. So the way to go down that path is to take the health occupations class. He's in the health related occupations class, they're very similar. And so this is Grant, who is going to be a paramedic someday. So thank you, Grant. Our final non-traditional student, who's a real stereotype breaker, is Haley Patton. Haley is a foreman in our building trades program. Every day she works to break that stereotype that women can't do carpentry work. And to prove it, last year as a junior, first year, in February of that year, so she'd only been in just a little over half the year, she took 3rd place in carpentry, individual carpentry competition at our Skills USA districts. And this year she's determined to get 1st place. That's what she told me. I think she will, to go to state and maybe to nationals. So, she's a cheerleader at night, but during the day she's a carpenter. So we're thrilled to have her. So, Jacob, do you have family here today? I do. You do? Oh, hi. You can stand up and wave. And then I know Grant's parents are here. Grant, and you guys want to stand up? And then Haley had a whole row back there. Y'all want to stand up? Grandparents and parents. So, thank you all. Did a great job. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so 2 people I'd like to bring up next are Colleen White and Cindy Morse. So come on up. All right. So as you all know, we have at Lewis and Clark an applied retail business store whereby kids with special needs learn how to do, work all kinds of jobs like cashiering and inventory and short order cooking and janitorial and all kinds of stuff. And so 2 years ago, we had an opening in the position of the instructor and the position of the what we call job coach, which is like a para. And so we hired both of these women, Colleen and Cindy. They didn't know each other necessarily. We had to hire them, and hopefully they'd get along, and it's been great. I mean, they've really energized the program. Cindy is so special too because her son graduated from the program years ago, so that's great. And both are parents of students. There's a future St. Charles West Warrior. Sorry, Jeff Walker, but that's where they live. Anyway, they've done a magnificent job in what is, I think, one of the hardest classes to teach at Lewis and Clark. So congratulations for job well done, both of you, for the last 2 years. All right, and next can I have Miss Tiffany Herbert come on up. I don't think Kristen is here. I don't see her. So Tiffany, of course, is our early childhood careers educator. She does a phenomenal job with that. But last year, she took on an additional role along with another good person we have, Kristen Brent, and together they have worked to help our professional development move forward in the area of soft skills improvement, which is what all the employers want to have. So we really appreciate Tiffany's hard work. She put a lot of time in, and over time this is really going to pay off for our students and for our county. So we really appreciate your hard work. Thanks for coming tonight. All right, next I'd like to have Miss Carla Johnson come up. I got this long list, the idea from Mr. Walker, who we're always on the same night, and I love being on the same night. You usually bring half your school, so I thought, tonight you seem a little thin. That's okay. We're blowing your time, and I appreciate everybody here. So Carla Johnson is our academic skills instructor. So at Lewis and Clark, she tests every student in reading and math that come in. And if any student falls well below grade level in reading or math, she sets up a plan, meets with the students weekly, teaching lessons that address those students' specific weaknesses. And the neat thing is that it really works, right? So these kids go to her once a week for 45 minutes, and they don't get any credit to go. They don't get any bonus points. They're just required to go, and she makes it worthwhile. They're teaching to whatever the content would require. So if they're in welding, they're learning, a lot of fractions. If they're in building trades, they're working on tape measure type stuff and fractions and geometry and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, Carla is just a real gem to have in our school, and we really appreciate all you do. And thank you very much for being here. So since he's here, I wanted to honor Mr. Charlie Hankey. So come on up here, sir. This is the bonus round. I didn't tell him, but he told me he was coming, so I added him to the list. Yeah. If you're going to come all the way from Moscow Mills, let's make it worth it. So Charlie, of course, you guys, I'm sure many of you know him. He is our building trades instructor, a graduate of Lewis and Clark. Journeyman carpenter, and I thought this was appropriate to honor him tonight because the foundation is being dug on the final house in our current subdivision. It's the 19th house, and Charlie has been the general contractor for those houses probably for 14 or 15 of those 19 houses, maybe 17. Okay, who's counting? Anyway, it's a taxing job because not only does he have to be out there with up to 18 of his men and women, keeping them going, but sometimes there's up to 3 other instructors with each of them having 15 to 18 kids out there. So you have 60 or 65 or 70 kids working on a house that, by the way, we sold for $410,000, this last house. So anyway, I just thought it's a good chance to thank you for your hard work and dedication and all the people that are out there in St. Charles County building houses that went to Lewis and Clark is really, and they're doing commercial work too. It's really outstanding. And also, as the board knows, we're working on our next set of lots and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure you'll be hearing about that. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Lewis and Clark honorees tonight.
Now, Mr. Chris Bennett is going to want to take some really fancy photos for social media, so we might need to form maybe 2 lines, kind of scooch in like we love each other. Andrew, get in there. And moms and dads and loved ones,
I can't believe 17. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, thank you. You've got such a cute little girl. She's so cute. Thank you. Hi. Oh, congratulations. We need young men like you in our childhood. Good job. Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Great job. All right. So next up, I'm going to invite up Nicole Weitzel, who is our director of our CAPS program, our Center for Advanced Professional Studies, which is also based out of the Lewis and Clark Career Center.
Thank you, Danielle. When Kelly had emailed me over the summer to include CAPS this year in the recognition, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that, so that was a nice surprise. And as I thought about who would I recognize, it really made sense as we just completed our inaugural year last year was to recognize the staff of the CAPS program because there are two integral parts to our program. It's our business partners and then what the instructors do every day, and they connect with those business partners to really make our program happen and work with our students. So it's my pleasure to introduce the staff of St. Charles County CAPS for the recognition tonight. We have one staff member that wasn't able to be here tonight. Crystal Green, Healthcare. Dan Sacre, Healthcare. John Amor-Shemi, Tech Solutions. And then Dan Tripp is our Global Business Entrepreneurship instructor who couldn't be here tonight. But these instructors, we started and we went to the summer huddle last summer, not knowing a whole lot, not having hardly any business partners, and really they hit the ground running and had an amazing year with our student associates in the program. We celebrated at the end of the year with our end of the year program, and I will tell you that I'm sure they would agree with me that this summer was a completely different summer as we were tweaking and planning for the upcoming school year, and I know that they're going to rock it this year with their students. They've already completed their professional skills boot camp with the associates, and they're moving into projects right now that they're working on with businesses and in healthcare. They recently looked at the community health plan from a couple years ago and are applying that and what would they do to make St. Charles County a healthier community and putting those ideas into action. And our client projects, like I said, have started with Tech Solutions and with Global Business. And so I appreciate all of the work that you all do every day with our student associates. We couldn't make it all happen without you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So excited about this program. Thank you. This is an exciting program. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. What? Good. Send that out. Good.
All right, and last but certainly not least, St. Charles High School. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you guys very much. First of all, I feel bad because usually Stuart calls me out since I have a big group. Tonight I have like 4. So, but I want to do a few things first. One, Jacob Wilson, we'll give a little shout out. They just left. Earlier today, just kind of give you guys a little story, I was down doing lunch duty and Jacob walked up. He's wanting to get a beverage. All he has a $5 bill. He's like, Mr. Walker, you have change for 5. I looked at him, I have $4. He's like, I'll take it. I'm like, no, man, I'm not taking a $5 bill. So I gave him, I said, how much do you need? $2. He said, I'll pay you back. Now, most of the time when I give kids money, I'm thinking, I'm never going to see that money again. It's not a big deal. Walking in tonight, he grabbed me and said, hey, Mr. Walker, here's your $2. So what an excellent young man for Jacob. So nice job, even though he's not here. Lewis and Clark influence. Yeah. Soft skills. Yeah. So love the soft skills. Next, though, real quick, I want to recognize Nicole Besselman. Care to Learn, of course, you guys know is a huge deal, and we always raise money, and we always talk about schools doing baskets. And the last couple of years, she's asked if we will do a jeans week where we let staff pay money and they wear jeans all week, which is why I'm not in my suit. And I did wear jeans all week, by the way, but so I had to dress up a little bit. But she challenged both the high staff and the west staff with how much money can we raise, and let's do a little competition. Our staff's a little bit bigger, so we'll see how many participated, then how much money we raised. Now, last year, what did we raise total? About $800. So this year we had a little competition, so we challenged both staff. We get there, and West ended up having about 60% of their staff participate. We had about 59% of our staff participate. West ended up on their own raising about $600. High ended up raising $846. So the two schools combined, due to her idea of doing this challenge, raised almost $1,500 for Care to Learn. So thank you. So really, really awesome idea. A lot of fun. I don't get to wear jeans often, so I take advantage of that as much as I can. A lot of fun. All right, so my group I need to recognize tonight. One's not here, but it's my custodial crew in general. But Mr. Wright was who I was going to recognize. The reason I was going to do that is, man, if you guys have been to other high school buildings, I know you have, but you walk into St. Charles High, and that is one of the most beautiful buildings around for a high school. I have never seen a high school that looks like St. Charles High. But on top of that, our building's always clean, always looks nice. But more than that, we really put a lot of pressure on our custodians at the beginning of the year. We end up having freshman orientation one night. So we have this huge setup in the gym. We have a bunch of tables. We get all our freshmen in there, and we do our business, and we chase them out. Well, the next night, we always have Family Fun Festival. So they have to rearrange and bring in even more tables, get ready for Mrs. Pendleton's deal, and they always do a wonderful job. Building looks great. And then after that, we take that away. And the next morning, we have our 10 through 12 sophomores through seniors come and do their registration. So just that alone, we put a lot of pressure on our crew to get the building ready for that. That didn't count what they did all summer long to get the building ready. And that didn't talk about what they do for graduation and getting that ready as well. So that crew works so hard. I want to take a minute just to recognize not only Mr. Wright, but my custodial crew and the efforts they put in to make that building look gorgeous every day. So real quick, I'll give Mr. Wright a round of applause. Next, I want to call up two of my cross-country kids, Natalia Sissampon, come on up, and Thomas Doss, come on up. Now, you'll notice they both have on their cross-country uniforms. That's not because I asked them to wear it tonight. That's because they had a meet tonight. They got done with the meet. They left early. Thank you, Mrs. Sissampon, for bringing them, by the way, for this evening to come down here. These are our two top runners. They are fantastic runners, fantastic kids in general, but they're here to represent our cross-country team. So I'm going to tell you a little story. Our cross-country team has always done different things in the summertime, running the Katy Trail, or what else have you guys done? It's been Katy Trail, it's been hiking or something else. You guys always have some summer event. Well, this year they had a goal to break a world record. And so the goal was they were going to run for 24 hours to break the world record of total miles ran. The record before was 217 miles. They ended up having 4 different teams. These two were on the top fast team, was really going after the record. Natalia ran 23 miles in 24 hours. Thomas ran 22 miles in 24 hours. They would run a mile, take a break, somebody else run a mile, and they'd run another one. So they did this for 24 hours straight to break the record. They end up running a total of 222.5 miles as a team in 24 hours. So they're going to be in the Guinness World Book of Records for setting that. So how phenomenal is that? So congratulations, we love that, but you're going to see these two again later. They should be at state this year for cross country, and both our boys team and girls team are pretty darn good, so look out. St. Charles High needs to do something this year, so nice job. My next one to bring up is Miss Lynn Gunkel. Come on up, Miss Gunkel. Yeah. I will say being a high school principal is rather interesting, and I would love to take a lot of credit for what happens, but I really can't. It's my crew and my people like Lynn Gunkel that really helps us out and makes our school just run. I always laugh and introduce her. This is my boss right here. Just like Mrs. Pillington is Dr. Siebert's boss, this is my boss. You know that's right, Mrs. Pillington. Thank you. Yes. Yes. This building doesn't run without it. But more than that, Mrs. Gunkel's been absolutely phenomenal. Our finance secretary got a different job earlier this year, and we've been working to hire another one. So on top of everything else I ask her to do every single day, I then turned around and said, hey, by the way, you get to be my finance secretary until we find a new one. She has been absolutely phenomenal. The time and effort she puts in, she takes care of not only me, but my staff, our kids, everybody. If you need to know something, you need to get something, they don't come and ask me, we go ask Mrs. Gunkel. So she has done a phenomenal job with us this year. I love what you do for me. Thank you for everything you do. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So this is my group for St. Charles High. Yeah.
And while they're going around, let's give another big round of applause for all of our
Thank goodness you're keeping him on the straight and narrow. Great, we're going to be in the record book. We're going to be in the record book. I'm excited.
I heard you're going as it for homecoming. The clown.
Well, you know where I live, right?
Now I do, yeah, you're right next door.
Yes, ma'am. So my thing is I'm going to get Pennywise next.
Yes, Courtney can do
We're already getting that lined up. Now, where does he live?
He lives there's a house in Kings Highway that you probably did. It's great.
So as normal, we will take just a short pause if people are choosing to, again, go glued to CNN or Fox or, I know. Well, not that short.
The debate?
Not like,
Yeah,
well, I
it is-
mean, not that long. All right, go quick. Really? We have to wait for you? No, go. I'm kidding.
Oh, I guess those were.
I'm just giving you trouble. You can go. I don't want to, like, see any wet.
Go, go.
Well, I think that we can probably move on, even though Rodney is taking a little bit of a pause.
We can catch him
I
up.
don't think we have anything right now that involves human resources. So I don't, if everybody's okay? Oh, wait, Virgil.
Do we have
Wait
any,
for
we
Virgil.
don't have audience comments?
We have no cards have been given.
Okay. Then we can,
So
1, 2, we can go ahead and adopt the agenda.
all right, let's go ahead and carry on to 3.07. We have a motion to amend or adopt the agenda, please.
I move we adopt the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4.01, for efficiency, the school board utilizes a consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda are routine in nature or are among the many decisions that the board has already determined are in the domain of the administration. May I have a motion to approve, please?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.01, policy changes, second reading. Kind of a long list here. Any questions, thoughts, discussions? I am just curious, and I wasn't sure which administrator to ask, but I know that one of this is about the dispensing of Narcan, if necessary, for opioid overdoses. What kind of training do our nurses need for that, to do that? Or is it special or training, or is it just
It's minor.
minor?
It's minor
Okay.
training. Yeah,
Okay.
it just shows them how to dispense.
So it's nothing like crazy complicated. Okay. All right. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. All right. That was my only question. If nobody else has any questions, we can do a motion.
I move to approve the policies BCC, DFA, DH, DIE, BBA, GCLA, IGBH, JGGA, JH, CD, and KK as presented.
I second.
Good job.
Thank you.
Uh,
I know. Well,
I was hoping Virgil would
I
do
would
it.
say that was very Marita-esque.
I kind of waited. It looked like she wasn't there, so at one time I didn't.
All right. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are rocking through 7.01, Professional Development Plan.
Alrighty, so I'm excited to invite up Ms. Carla Johnson from the Lewis and Clark Career Center. Carla serves as our District Professional Development Committee Chair for this year, and she is super excited to present to us our new professional development plan for the year. And I'm here totally to assist as necessary.
Yeah. So, hello again.
Could you speak into the mic?
Yes. Sure thing. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So, every year the DPDC takes a look through our PDP and we make minor adjustments. We basically update the dates and just go through it and make minor changes. If we, took out mini grants for the year, then we take that out and make sure everything's right, and then we hand it over to you, and you all approve it each year. But in June, when we looked at it, we realized that it's actually been quite some time since this document has been really broken down and dug through. So we created a subcommittee, and in July we met and we really got into the nitty-gritty of our professional development plan. We researched several other area districts and looked at theirs. We really liked Rockwoods, so we took a couple notes from them and kind of incorporated that and made it our own. So the new professional development plan is broken down into 6 different sections. And one of the major differences is that the old document was 25 pages long, but with an 80-page appendix. And what we did was we really broke down that appendix and moved the pertinent documents forward to make it more user-friendly, hopefully. And then we deleted some that were unnecessary or redundant. So, and then we also updated some of our major focus. Like if the old document, I believe, had a lot about Marzano in it, and that's just a piece of who we are now. And our professional development is really focused more on student needs, and so we put the Matos Continuum in here and things like that. We just updated with where we're hoping to go in the future also.
And so within the professional development plan, you'll see an action list around our 4 goals for professional development. So our 4 goals are professional learning communities, which we've worked with in our district for a long time, increasing student learning, being data-driven, and then also with our new teacher induction program with new teacher orientation and how we help support our teachers. And so those are the 4 main areas that then have action steps throughout them to make sure that we're providing the right kind of support, high-quality professional development, and that we're supporting our teachers as necessary.
Do you have any questions?
I appreciate you sending me 109 pages.
Which is considerably less.
Yes, that's fewer pages than before. It was quite an undertaking, but we had a good team with us doing it.
So, one of the things, and I've said this before, I guess it was 3 years ago, I somewhat reluctantly voted for cutting down a day of learning. As a parent, I was concerned my kids aren't going as much, but for the benefit of professional development. I know that we've been doing the dedicated day as a result of that. In general, and I'm not asking for statistics, but do we have evidence that we're seeing results from these days. We're seeing different, better practices happening. What are we seeing from that?
And so we do see those things happening within our schools. So our principals are seeing them through their walkthroughs. We're seeing them with walkthroughs, and the DPDC also periodically goes to different schools and they do walkthroughs and they take evidence on what we're actually seeing. And so I don't know if you want to expand at all on that.
Yeah, in October, we are planning on going to 3 district schools that we're looking for specific things. We're looking for, oh my gosh, I cannot think of it right now. The graduation rate. We're looking for the 4 main groups out of CSEP, the data. Yes, RTA, thank you. And student needs. But so we are seeing that it's anecdotal evidence. I don't have any hard facts for you, but yes. And also I'm on the survey subcommittee and I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback from the surveys, especially on that full day PD. People are very, very appreciative of the quality professional development they're getting.
And what was nice this year too is that for the professional development day at the beginning of the year, typically we've allowed our building principals to have that time with their staff to really dig in. And we've done professional development or curriculum revision and stuff like that as necessary. But this year, everybody in the district either attended an AM session or a PM session with Dr. Brian Perlman all around trauma-informed mental health, that kind of thing. So everybody in the district heard the same message leading into the work that we're going to do throughout the year. So I think being able to do that at the beginning and then being able to follow up in March with additional resources that fall into RTI or trauma-informed, but then also many other great practices too, STEM, technology, student engagement, different things like that. Our teachers really, all of our staff really enjoyed it. It's a great day for everybody. And you all are always welcome to come to any of those things that we're offering. So.
And I think what sets that day apart too, and from what I see what other districts are doing, all of our staff are involved. So you have your support staff, everybody in the district is involved with some type of continuing education or getting some kind of professional development on that day, and I think that's a really key piece. And it's all centered around our 2 big rocks, which again, RTI and student needs. And you see that. I sent my weekly board update to you last Friday and showed you some specific pictures of a team that I saw over at one of our schools, and that's exactly what we're talking about, the PLC process with the data team and meeting kids' needs. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Okay.
So thank you so much for the presentation. Good job. May I have a motion, please? Not everyone at once. Not everyone at once.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policy changes, first reading, one after like a few months of 10 of them. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice to just have
7.
one. Any thoughts, questions, comments? This will come back next month for approval, so we don't need a motion. Benefit plan recommendations 2020. Charles, I presume it is you.
That is me. I have a great benefits committee comprised of members of staff from departments and buildings across the district, as well as some of our retirees, because as you're aware, they have the option under state law to stay on our plans. Nicole is a longtime member of that committee and serves both as a building rep for St. Charles West, but also in her role as president of SCEA. She is part of making sure that our employee groups also are aware of what we're doing with our benefits plans. So the documents you have in front of you just has 5 points, and I'll go over them very briefly. And I didn't learn much about journalism, but what I know is that you shouldn't bury the lead. And so number 1 is the best news on the page. Based on a really positive experience on our claims year, CBIZ is recommended and the committee's endorsed, and so we're making a recommendation to you that we make 0 plan design changes and take a 0% increase in our medical plan costs for 2020. So that's a recommendation I've always wanted to bring. haven't been able to before. So we're very excited about that. So we're having a good claims year, and we're being very proactive in what we do with our plans, as you're well aware. Additionally, then number 2, we have had and currently do have in place through December a mandatory participation in a short-term disability policy that we've talked about with you on a couple of previous occasions. Everybody right now is required to participate in it, but there is a significant portion, and I'd venture to say it's at least 50% of our folks who will not ever be able to access that policy should they have a short-term disability, because the way it's written, you have to exhaust all of your paid leave before you can get to that short-term policy. So having a product that we call an employee benefit that everyone has to pay for, but only half of us or less can actually get to, didn't seem very helpful. And so we took that through negotiations, and the Benefits Committee has been talking about it for a while. And so what we've come up with is eliminating that mandatory participation policy and then offering 2 new voluntary options, one for short-term disability coverage and one for long-term disability. Long-term disability would, potentially appeal to those who are towards the end of their careers or that were wanting to hedge their bets against some potential chronic or disabling event that they might think of. The short-term disability policy really is going to have, I think, is going to appeal to 2 sets of people. One are those of our employees who are in their childbearing years and who might not have as much leave. And so typically our new mamas are among the groups that have used the short-term policy and would benefit from it. And then the other distinct group the other group that sometimes actually overlaps with those folks having babies are those people who just for whatever reason are out of sick leave. And so we have some people that are in their 30th year and still don't have much sick leave. But it's predominantly those people who are earlier in their careers. But if you happen to have had a chronic illness or something that's taken you out for a long time and you just don't have sick leave, then a short-term disability policy is still going to be a good option for you to look at. These will cost more because everybody is not required to participate, but they will have better options for our employees to choose if they decide that one of these products is going to be helpful for them.
And when you say it'll cost more, does it cost us more?
It does not cost us more at all. So right now, the mandatory participation policy does not cost the district anything. All employees are just contributing. So what it will do is it'll take somebody that has no interest in the policy. It'll give them just a little bit of money back in their pocket. It's about $13 a month. But then somebody who wants that policy, because not everybody would be participating, will have to pay slightly more for it. Point number 3, we have right now, this seems a little odd, CBiz is our primary benefits consultant. They also are currently our flexible spending account vendor. They're recommending we move away from CBiz to Discovery. And that's really primarily because we've had a fairly regular amount of complaints about the difficulty in actually people using their own money in the flex spending account. Discovery has more experience and a much broader book of business in offering that type of product, and so again, this has a zero net effect on the district, but will hopefully be a better option for our employees. No, the folks that work for us don't get any benefit from who has that business, so they don't really care where it goes. Number 4 is unique in that it does not affect any current employees. But again, thinking about the retiree group that continues on with us, most of our folks now, we still have a few people who never paid into Medicare that are in our insurance pool. But most of our people, when they become 65, Medicare becomes primary, whether they want it to or not, if you're a retiree. And some number of our people opt out of our medical plans at that point, but we have a fairly large portion who still stay on our policy, effectively making our full benefit health plan a very expensive Medicare supplement. And so what we've worked with CBiz to do is to provide us with this fully insured product from the Hartford for medical and Express Scripts for pharmaceuticals that would be in the range of about $300. It does change with the age of the retiree a bit, but it would be in the range of about a $300 per month expenditure instead of $768, which is what our high plan costs folks. So it just gives our retirees another option when they get to Medicare eligibility. They could do something like this on their own without us sponsoring a plan, but we've just heard from some of our retirees they're reluctant to jump away from the district policy and the guaranteed coverage. And you know, if you've watched daytime television at all, you know that this marketplace is just cluttered with products and is really hard for people to understand. So this is just our attempt to help folks. We would also allow them to step onto this plan, and if they didn't like it after a year, they could come back to our coverage, which again gives them a little more comfort with the whole idea, I think. And then finally, one thing we started talking about a couple of years ago with the Benefits Committee, brought to negotiations, is this idea of whether the board at some point will need to shift from paying for the high PPO plan to the base PPO plan. That is not part of our recommendation this year. It's just an ongoing study point that we specifically mentioned in negotiations, so I wanted to bring it to your attention. All of our other lines of coverage, dental, vision, and life, all remain unchanged, same vendors, same plan, same prices. Nicole, did I forget anything?
Nicole, you're usually not that shy.
I might also mention that I have the opportunity in November, I was asked to present about our kind of proactive approach to providing an employee benefits plan to the Superintendents and School Business Officials Leadership Summit. And so Eric Feil, our CBiz consultant, and Nicole, as our union president, are also going to co-present with me to talk about how we've worked together to kind of continually benefit our employees.
Another feather in the cap.
All right.
Can I make a motion?
Any questions before Donna makes a motion? Go ahead.
I move to approve the recommendations presented by the Benefits Committee for 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, before we move to the district financial
Thank you.
report, I do want to say, because Charles mentioned presentation, one thing that we forgot to mention at the top, but I think for our YouTube watchers, they need to know that Dr. Tormala and Dr. Holt are presenting at
Yeah.
the MSBA conference.
Dr. Tormal, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. 'Cause-
Hold on. Mr. Keen is presenting also at the MSBA.
well,
conference.
and I was thinking that was after the next board meeting, but it won't be.
Yeah.
So, thank you for saying that. We're excited about that.
We're super excited. We can't wait.
And the neat thing is, and it's not just, oh, we're presenting. We've been presenting quite a bit at these conferences, the last 2 or 3 of them. Well, that, and we've presented this summer and this fall, you know, 2 summers,
I've been
2
working on
conferences this summer. And it
Did
shows
during
you that
Andrew's
the
dissertation.
programming and the things that we're doing in this district are being noticed, and that's what's neat, because we're doing good things.
And also for people in YouTube land, Parent University coming up.
Oh,
So let's not forget the 21st.
forgot about that too.
All of you on the interwebs, please come to Parent University on Saturday.
Saturday.
Mr. Keen, thank you for
September
showing my 2
21st,
shortcomings,
8 to noon, Jefferson Intermediate.
Yes.
which is awesome.
It's great. I went there last year. I learned how what looks like a can of Coke can hold somebody's stash, and you would have no idea.
It could actually be a can
Oh,
of
it's
Coke.
crazy. Yeah.
And it's truly a can of Coke.
You know, talking about Parent University, a quick shout out to Monroe Elementary, who had, I think, 60 parents show up last night or more, and they did some trauma-informed and some student needs with their parents last night, and that's really neat as well.
Good, good. Okay, now, Charles, I don't mean to delay you, but
On to the highlight, right?
on to the best part of the night.
I'm standing between you and your nightcap, so I will tell you what you need to know here and answer any questions you've got. The Healthcare Trust, as we always start with that fund, just want to point out a couple things on that bottom line. In August 2019, you'll see we paid ourselves, excuse me, a lot less than normal. That's because the month before we paid ourselves twice. So that's just an accounting issue. It's not any significant problem. You see the Healthcare Trust still is running at just slightly north of $2.5 million. So we're in really nice shape there. And again, that contributes to our ability to go into 2020 pretty aggressively with no increase in cost to our plans. On the next page, you'll see month end of August. Just a couple of highlights there. You'll see salaries and benefits ticked up again as we regained the 500 or so 10-month employees that we don't pay during June and July rather. And then in that third column over, Fund 3, I just wanted to point out we made an interest-only payment, which is typical for us in September, of $959,000 plus just a little bit on the district's debt. We make an interest and principal payment in March of every year, and so this is half of our normal obligation. Obviously, the other payment is much larger because it includes principal as well. And I just wanted to point that out as a reminder to share with you that we are going to be bringing to you in November a recommendation to do some bond refinancing of our 2014 bond issue, which will, over the life of the issue, save the district about $600,000 in interest, and will also allow us to pay off the last 2 years of that debt early, so that instead of maturing in 2034, it'll mature in 2032. So really good things happening there. That's the layman's version. Lorenzo Boyd and his associate Becky Esrock will be with us in November to give us the actual financial details of that transaction. Year end, again, the only thing I'd point out is we're continuing to spend down those bond funds from the 2017 bond issue. You see we've spent $6 million in capital expenses so far this year, and the vast majority of that is in bond funds. We have one final project bidding that we'll also bring to you in November, which are the concessions and restroom facilities at the north end of Steve Stahl Stadium at the St. Charles West campus, and hopefully a couple of alternates as well that will finish out our 2017 bond issue spending.
And those couple of buildings that we're talking about, the concessions, those were already projects, that was already in that project.
Right, that was bid once before and as an alternate.
On it just to make sure that we have enough. Yeah.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
And then the final page is the budget adjustment report. Very early to tell whether this is really where the budget is trending, but right now it looks like we're projected to end at 23% fund balances at the end of the year. What questions can I answer? We have drawings. We don't have like a rendering yet, but we do have drawings of the facilities, yes. They'll be actually out available to contractors about 1 month from now.
Any other questions? If not, we do need a motion, please.
I will make a motion to approve the district financial report as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to adjourn, please? All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.